Hello, my little creatives, and welcome back to another episode of Drawfully Fun, Draw With Me. How's everybody doing? I'm doing fantastic. It's been quite a bit of time since I posted. I am terribly sorry for the very long delay between my videos. I have been really busy lately. As you may know, this is not my full-time job. I do have a full-time job teaching art, actually. As a matter of fact, I teach art online. So, shameful plug here, guys. If you are all in between the ages of 3 years old and 18 and want to take classes online, check out outschool.com. That is where I teach art classes, book club, gaming, lots of really cool stuff. I'm on there. I will put my link in the description so you can check out all the classes I have available to offer. I do offer my basic Drawfully Fun Draw With Me class, which is what you guys are used to seeing here. My actual little characters that I draw. You will be able to come with me live on a Zoom meeting and learn how to draw the character on top of learning about the animal that we draw via a Blookit or Kahoot game or Gimkit. It's really fun. You guys would love it. So if you're in the ages between 7 to 11, that is what my classes usually are arranged at. I am very flexible in the age range, so check my link out. Get all the details if you don't know what Outschool is, and come and take a class with me. I would love to see your smiling face. All right, guys, let's begin. As you can tell by the title of this video, we're going to be learning how to create shadows and highlights via masks on Procreate. So let's get into the world of digital art. Grab your pens, your stylus, your Apple pen, pencil, whatever you want to call it. I don't have an Apple pencil. I have a knockoff that I got on Amazon. So if you don't have an Apple pencil, fear not. These are pretty cheap. Try it out. All right, guys, let's begin. Today we're going to learn 3 different methods of creating shadows and highlights via masks. The first method, number 1, is Alpha Lock. Now, Alpha Lock, let's go ahead and take a look. Let me turn on my pen. That might help. Let's open up my layer here. I had it hidden. We're going to start with a basic circle. All you're going to do is just draw a really big circle around your screen, make it on a separate layer, or make it on one layer. Obviously, it's not going to be your background. Let's go ahead and click on this layer. Bloop, and you're going to see this little sub menu that pops up. In this menu, you're going to click Alpha Lock right here. Boop. Excuse you. There we go. Alpha Lock. Now you're going to notice behind the circle, there's a checker box effect that popped up. Looks like a regular checkerboard or a racetrack finish line, whatever you want to call it. It's showing the transparency behind this shape. So what that means is that we're going to be able to color on this shape without going past those lines. So let's go ahead and take the color of our shadow, hit your color wheel over here. I am hitting the classic. You can use the disc form. You can use, if you have a palette with different colors, go for it. I'm usually on the disc or the classic version. So I'm just going to go over here to a nice dark pink color for my shadow. And then I'm going to hit my brush. I like to do my shadows in various different styles. Today I'm going to show you with more of a textured style. It's going to be under charcoals, and it's the Vine charcoal brush. This is the default brush that you can find on Procreate. I usually use default brushes. There are a few times that I do get some other brushes that I download online, but most of the time I use default brushes actually. The default brushes on Procreate are amazing, guys. They really do the trick on pretty much anything you need. With a little bit of tweaking here and there, you can customize it to your needs, but honestly, the defaults are amazing. So right back to it. Let's get to the Vine charcoal brush. I'm going to go ahead and close the brush now. And I have it set to about 20%. My canvas size, for those of you that are asking, is at a 2000 by 2000 pixel at 300 dpi. Okay, so we're going to come over here and now take our brush and then just create a shadow all along the bottom side of your sphere. Like that. Very simple. Notice how when I color on the white, it doesn't color anything because we are alpha locked. Again, it is drawing directly on the little shape that you have right here, whatever shape it is that you've created. Now, there are pros and cons for using alpha lock. The biggest con is that you are drawing and coloring directly on your subject. So that means that if at any time you want to change anything on this shape, you're going to have to change that shadow too, no matter what you want to do. Let's say you have a smiley face or something, little hands or something right on this bottom part that you want to change. You're going to have to change that shadow too with it. You're going to have to erase it and start over. This is not a good method to use, especially when you are being commissioned to do a piece. So if your client is telling you, I want changes, and you've used this alpha lock, you're going to have to redo that subject based off of your client's needs. So I don't recommend using this way if you're doing commission pieces. Now, there are times to use it, especially when you're going, when you have very limited layers. When you have limited layers, Procreate, depending on your type of iPad, limits the amount of layers that you can use. So I am using a 9th generation iPad, so I don't get a lot of layers compared to an iPad Pro, those big massive iPads. So I believe with my dimensions on my canvas and my DPI, I think I'm at limit 25 layers, if I recall. But that's just based off of my settings. Everyone is different. So again, if you're limited, you can use alpha lock. Let's go ahead and do a highlight the same way. I'm going to come over here to my colors, go down to a very light pink, and go back to my brush and do a highlight right here on the top. Voila, there you go. We have a highlight. My highlights and my shadows are not going to be perfect, obviously. It's just for presentations to show you all the different methods. Perfect. All right. And that is the alpha lock. It's as easy as that. That's it. That's all you need to know for alpha lock. If you don't want to have it alpha locked anymore, click on the layer, unselect alpha lock, and you're back to normal. You will color outside the lines, kind of like what I'm doing here. You can double tap it with 2 fingers to undo, and you're back to normal. And there you go. Alpha lock is done. Method number 2, the clipping mask. Clipping mask is ultimately my favorite version or my favorite method of creating shadows and highlights. Reason being is that it actually gives you different layers for your shadows and highlights so that you can manipulate all of your different layers. So let's go ahead and see it in action. Let's go back to our layer. It's all back to normal the way we had it before. I'm going to remove the alpha lock here. No alpha lock. And it's just a basic layer. So to do the shadow, we want to go ahead and click the plus sign right here and add a new layer on top of your basic shape. This is where we're going to add our shadow. So let's go to our color wheel. I'm going to go ahead and pick the color. It's already on my history here from the last one we did. So I'm just going to select it, a nice dark pink right here. And I'm going to close out of it. Again, I'm back at the charcoals, Vine charcoal. Feel free to use whatever you want. This is my preference for today to give it just a little bit of texture. Let's close out of that. Now, just like this on the layer, if I go ahead and start drawing, I'm going to be outside of the lines, right? That's pretty ugly. That didn't work. Let's go ahead and create a clipping mask, right? So if I come here to this layer, I select the layer, come down here to clipping mask, select that, and boom, all of those outside areas that have bled out of your little object disappears. It has clipped this layer to your layer below, kind of like a binder clip going over a piece of paper or a hair clip going onto your hair, clipping only a certain little section of hair. So everything that you draw on this layer will only be bound to this one. And the best part is you can select this layer and you can move that shadow around to whatever you want. If you want to make it smaller, you can just make it smaller. If you want to make it bigger, make it bigger. Do whatever you want with this layer since it is its own separate layer. That is the beautiful part of it. If you have the luxury of being able to use a lot of layers, do it. Go for it. I highly recommend it. Let's go ahead and do a highlight the same way, but I want to do the highlight on a separate layer as well. I don't like to mix my shadows and my highlights on the same layer. I like to do it all on separate ones. So I'm going to come over here and create another layer, boop, right here, and I'm going to hit the clipping mask again. Select the layer and hit clipping mask, and you're going to notice the same thing happened right here. A little arrow dropped down showing that it is clipped below, but this doesn't mean it's clipped to layer number 2. It is clipped to this layer number 1. Everything that is clipped with arrows will always land on this bottom one right here up until you have another layer that is not clipped. So everything here, it's like a little ladder, will be clipped. And just go for it right on the top where your light source is coming out of. Boom, there you go. And then you can see again, we can select it and move it around all by itself. Beautiful, beautiful option. My number one choice. Of course, I use all the different methods in different ways depending on what kind of project, but 90% of the time I am using the clipping mask. When I am done with my shadows and highlights, to help my canvas without having so many layers, what I'll do is I'll merge them down. You can click on the layer and merge down. Click on this one again and merge down. And there you go. It is back onto one single layer. Let me undo that. Another way to merge them is just taking your fingers and grabbing them and merging them together like that. Different options. All right, method number 3, our final method, we're going to be using regular masks. So this one's going to be a little bit more involved. It's going to give us the same result, but we're going to have to do a couple more steps here. So what I want to do is we're going to come back to our layers and create another layer. Oh, no, never mind, scratch that. Sorry. We're going to duplicate this layer. So slide this layer to the right and duplicate it. So we have another layer exactly the same on top. But this time we want this layer to be colored in as your shadow. So come over here, pick the last shadow color or bring your slider all the way to where your shadow color is. And go back to your page or your canvas, drag the color and color in the entire shape as your shadow. So now you're going to see we have 2 different layers, one that has your base color and one that has your shadow color. So the way we're going to erase the parts that we don't want and only reveal the shadow on the bottom is by creating a mask. So go ahead and select that layer and hit mask right there, and a little white box is going to reveal itself on top of this one, just like we had on the clipping mask where another layer gets created and clipped into the other one. Now on layer masks, you can only work with, or you should only work, I should say, with black and white scales. So basically we're masking this entire piece, kind of like if you're putting masking tape on top of it, or washi tape, a whole roll of washi tape on top of it, and then you're going to peel away all the areas that you don't want or that you want revealed, basically. So we're going to mask it with a masking tape. So now we're going to come over here. The opposite of white is going to be black. So we want black on our color wheel. Select pure black. Take a brush, any brush that you want for your shadows. And then you're going to erase ultimately with this brush by using black. You're just eliminating all that white. So you come in here and just erase everything you want. That is going to reveal the shape below. And then you keep the shadow right on the bottom. And there you go. Easy peasy. There you go. You deleted that. Now, if I want to go ahead and get a little bit more texture on my shadow down here, I'm going to lower the opacity and I'm just going to bring it down right here and just kind of erase a tiny bit just so that it looks like it has texture. And there you go. We have ourselves a shadow. Easy peasy, right? Love it. I'm going to bring my opacity back up. But what about highlights? What are we going to do for a highlight? We want to highlight. Well, we're going to repeat that same step. So we're going to go ahead and duplicate this layer one more time. Select your bottom layer, slide it to the right, and duplicate. Now this layer, we want to grab it and put it on top of our shadow. So hold it and drag it up to the top. Now that you have your layer right on top here, let's do the same exact thing that we did over here and create that mask. So go ahead and click on the layer and select mask. Perfect. So now we have that white box just like we did for our shadow. Oh, wait just a second. Let's select our layer here. I forgot one important step. Let's come back over here to your color wheel, get that light color that you want for your shot, for your highlight, and color this. So now that we have it colored for our highlight, let's come back over here, select the layer mask. Make sure you have the mask selected and not your layer. Otherwise, you're going to be coloring black on that. We don't want that. And then take your brush. Make sure you are on the pure black. And then we're just going to go ahead and erase everything right here on the bottom so we can slowly reveal that shadow that we had created earlier. Look at that. There we go. Looking good. So now we have ourselves a highlight just like we did before. You can lower the opacity right here and go ahead and create that little texture on the top. And voila, we have ourselves a highlight. Easy peasy, guys, right? So ultimately, it looks pretty much exactly the same as every single method. Now, for layer's sake, if you want to go ahead and merge all of this, you can just grab all of this and close. Oop, close. It doesn't want to close. This happens to me a lot. Tell me if that happens to you, because it happens all the time. So you can just go ahead and close it like that and merge it. Or if that doesn't work for you and you want to just merge it one by one, you can go ahead and just come over here, merge down and merge down. Voila. And you have yourself a single layer with your shadow and your highlight, and then you can move on to anything else. And that's it, guys. Those are the 3 different ways to apply shadows and highlights using layer masks: your clipping mask, alpha lock, and regular layer masks. Easy peasy, right? All right, guys. Well, you know the drill. If you liked what we did here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel for a lot of more awesome content. I have so much more stuff planned for you now that I am back. I should have a lot more consistency. Make sure to ring that notification bell to get notified of all of my content, and hit the big thumbs up like this video. I'll see you all in the next video. Until the next time, happy creating.